All right, let's talk about cybersecurity. For so long, we've approached it like it's just a checklist. A bunch of rules and regulations we have to follow. But what if that whole mindset is actually what's making us vulnerable? Today, we're going to look at a totally different way of thinking about security, one that's active, not passive.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Is your organization's security really just about ticking boxes on a form? I mean, it's pretty easy to be compliant, right? But does being compliant actually mean you're secure? That's the big, dangerous gap we're going to dive into today. The gap between compliance and real, honest-to-goodness resilience.
And this is our map for the journey. I know, it looks like a lot, but trust me, we're going to break it all down. This is the GRAA framework. And yes, that's a mouthful. It stands for Governing Cyber Resilience Through Assured Evidence and Transparent Accountability. Basically, it's a blueprint for building a security system that's alive, that's breathing, and that's always learning.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll lay the foundation. Then we'll build the core engine. We'll look at the operational loop it powers, and we can't forget the human element. We'll see what kind of evidence fuels the whole thing, and finally, what the ultimate goal is. So let's jump right in.
Okay, first things first, the foundation. Before we can build something new and better, we really have to get why the old way is broken. And the source material calls this the world of compliance rituals.
You know exactly what these are. They're those passive, box-ticking exercises a lot of companies mistake for actual security. You get the audit, you pass, and that big report goes on a shelf to collect dust for a year. But come on, the digital world isn't static and gray, is it? It's changing every single second. And that old approach, it just can't keep up. No way.
But here's the really smart part. Grana doesn't make you burn everything to the ground and start over. Not at all. It's designed to be a clever overlay on what you're probably already doing. It takes all those common industry standards, NIST, ISO, you name it, and it connects them, weaving them together. It turns them from these separate, isolated checklists into one single continuously looping system.
So let's get to the heart of this thing. Let's pop the hood and look at the core engine of the Graham model. This is where the magic really happens.
So think of this engine as having 7 essential gears that have to work together. It all starts with govern. You gotta set the rules. Then you assure you're on the right track. Then you do what you'd expect. You plan, you design, and you execute. But here's the crucial difference. This engine also has gears for change and for innovate. It's a complete system built for a world that refuses to stand still.
Okay, so we've built our engine. What does it actually do? Well, it powers this thing called the operational loop. It's a nonstop cycle of creating, protecting, and delivering value. And this is definitely not a straight line. It's a circle. You start by creating value. But while you're doing that, you are simultaneously protecting your assets. And then, once you deliver that value, the system creates feedback that flows right back into that governance engine we just talked about. See, it's always learning, always adjusting. And that protect phase, it has a secret weapon. It's called concurrent assurance. And honestly, this is a total game changer. Instead of waiting around for some yearly audit, assurance is happening all the time, in real time, while things are running. It's like having a quality inspector on the assembly line, not just some guy checking the boxes at the very end.
Okay, so we have the engine. We have the loop it powers. But what about the people? You can't forget the people. And that brings us to this really important cultural layer that wraps around this entire system.
Now listen to this, because it's a huge point. In this model, culture isn't some soft, fuzzy, let's all get along kind of thing. No, it is treated as a real, measurable asset. A healthy culture is like a super-sensitive radar for the whole organization, capable of spotting risks and opportunities way faster than any formal process ever could.
So, what fuels this whole machine? I mean, how does it get that feedback it needs to constantly learn and adapt? Well, it runs on cold, hard data, or what the framework calls assured evidence.
And this evidence comes from something called QO/QM testing. Don't worry about the jargon. All it really means is that you are actively stress testing your systems with a very clear, testable goal in mind. So you're not just asking, hey, is it working? You're asking, how well does it work when things get crazy? And that's what gives you the real, measurable performance data that fuels this entire system.
All right, we've done it. We've laid the foundation, we built the engine, we traced the loop, we've added in the people and the data. So now let's put it all together and see what the grand prize is. What is the ultimate goal here?
The whole point is to achieve evidence-based resilience. And just listen to the words here, dynamic and vibrant. That is the absolute polar opposite of that static and gray compliance we started with, right?
This is about achieving a state of strategic self-awareness, where your organization doesn't just know what it's doing, but it knows exactly how well it's learning and adapting to whatever the world throws at it. And this just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? Look at the shift. We are moving from those sleepy compliance rituals to active, evidence-based resilience. We're going from something static and gray to something dynamic and vibrant. We are leaving behind passive box ticking and moving to strategic self-awareness. And we're trading in all those separate, siloed frameworks for one smart, connected system.
So, we end up right back where we started. But now the question hits a little differently, doesn't it? After seeing all this, it becomes so much more pointed. Is your organization just going through the motions to stay compliant, or is it actively building a living, breathing, adapting system that is truly, genuinely resilient? That's the question worth asking.